Jay Park stood at the edge of her garden, her hands resting on her hips, a look of confusion etched across her face. The carefully maintained flower beds she had nurtured for years now showed signs of something deeply wrong. Patches of ground were disturbed, with strange circular impressions that looked nothing like typical landscaping damage. Her neighbor, David Kim, had been acting odd lately. Every time she tried to discuss the strange markings on her property, he would quickly change the subject or make an excuse to leave. Something felt off, and Jay knew she wasn't going to let this go. As a researcher specializing in environmental studies, Jay had developed a keen eye for detail. The ground around her property showed signs of unusual electromagnetic interference. She had spent years studying environmental patterns, and these markings were unlike anything she had ever seen before. Using her professional-grade soil testing kit, Jay began collecting samples. Each scoop of earth revealed microscopic anomalies, tiny metallic fragments that didn't belong in a typical suburban garden. The soil seemed almost modified, not naturally disturbed, but precisely altered. Her smartphone captured dozens of photographs. Close-up images showed circular patterns that seemed too perfect to be natural. The edges were clean, almost laser-cut, with a precision that suggested something beyond normal ground disturbance. David Kim's house stood just 15 meters away. He worked for a research company, something technical, something David always kept vague about. Whenever Jay had tried to learn more about his work, he would deflect with polite but firm responses. The neighborhood was quiet, typical of suburban areas. Perfectly trimmed lawns, identical houses, and meticulously maintained gardens. But Jay's property now stood out, a landscape with mysterious circular patterns that seemed to pulse with an almost invisible energy. She remembered the night last week when strange lights had flickered near her property. Most neighbors would have dismissed it as a trick of the imagination or a faulty street lamp, but Jay was different. She documented everything, taking careful notes on her tablet, recording timestamps, and measuring the exact locations of these unusual markings. Local authorities had been no help. When she reported the strange ground disturbances, they treated her complaint as a minor landscaping issue. But Jay knew this was something more. The precision of the ground markings, the weird metallic fragments in her soil. Something was definitely not right. Her research background wouldn't let her simply ignore these anomalies. Each day, she collected more evidence. Soil samples were carefully sealed and labeled. Photographs were meticulously organized. She was building a case, though she wasn't entirely sure what kind of case it would be. David Kim continued to act suspiciously. Some mornings, Jay would notice his car leaving extremely early, before sunrise. Other times, strange equipment would be briefly visible in his garage. Technical-looking devices that seemed more suited to a high-tech laboratory than a suburban home. The local community knew Jay as a serious professional. She had lived in the neighborhood for over a decade, respected for her scientific approach and calm demeanor. This made her observations even more credible. If Jay Park said something was wrong, people listened. As summer approached, the ground markings became more pronounced. What started as subtle circular impressions now looked like carefully designed patterns. They almost resembled a complex geometric design, too perfect to be natural, too intentional to be random. Jay began to suspect that this was more than just a neighborhood mystery. Something significant was happening. Something that went beyond typical property disputes. Her researcher's instinct told her that she was on the verge of discovering something extraordinary. Little did she know, her careful documentation and persistent investigation would soon uncover a mystery that extended far beyond her small suburban garden, a mystery that would challenge everything she understood about her neighborhood, her neighbor, and potentially the world itself. The laboratory hummed with quiet intensity as Jay carefully placed her soil samples under the advanced microscope. Her hands moved with practiced precision, adjusting the lens to reveal what ordinary eyes could not see. What she discovered made her breath catch in her throat. Microscopic fragments glinted with an unusual metallic composition. These weren't ordinary soil particles. They looked engineered, almost manufactured with a level of precision that suggested something beyond human technology. Each fragment had a uniform structure, tiny geometric patterns that seemed too perfect to be accidental. Jay contacted her research colleague, Professor Lee, a materials science expert at the local university. Initially skeptical, he agreed to review her samples. His initial reaction mirrored her own surprise. "These aren't natural formations," he muttered, examining the microscopic structures. The fragments contained complex molecular arrangements that didn't match any known terrestrial metallic compound. Some particles showed signs of quantum-level engineering, technology that existed more in advanced scientific theories than in practical applications. David Kim's background became increasingly suspicious. His employment records showed he worked for a classified research program with connections to government defense contractors. When Jay tried requesting more information, bureaucratic walls emerged instantly. Standard employment documents became redacted pages filled with black ink. Local government offices provided minimal cooperation. Each request for information was met with polite but firm rejections. Something about her investigation seemed to trigger an invisible protective mechanism within official channels. Her neighborhood appeared normal on the surface. Perfectly maintained lawns, quiet streets, families going about their daily routines. But beneath this calm exterior, Jay sensed something extraordinary was happening right under everyone's noses. Small unexplained events began accumulating. Electronic devices near her property would occasionally malfunction. Wireless signals would momentarily distort. Neighborhood security cameras would show brief, unexplainable interference patterns. Professor Lee suggested additional testing. Advanced spectral analysis revealed even more bizarre details. The soil fragments contained trace elements that seemed to respond to specific electromagnetic frequencies. They almost appeared responsive. Jay started documenting everything. Notebooks filled with careful observations, digital folders packed with high-resolution images, timestamp recordings of unusual electromagnetic readings. Her methodical approach transformed a potential neighborhood dispute into a potential scientific breakthrough. Surveillance became her silent strategy. She installed professional-grade monitoring equipment around her property. Motion sensors, electromagnetic field detectors, infrared cameras, each device designed to capture what human senses might miss. One late evening, something remarkable happened. Her equipment captured a brief energy signature that didn't match any known terrestrial technology. The reading lasted less than 3 seconds, but provided crucial evidence of something extraordinary occurring. David Kim's behavior became increasingly guarded. He seemed aware that Jay was investigating something significant. Some mornings, his car would leave before sunrise, returning late with covered equipment. Neighbors noticed but said nothing, maintaining the unspoken suburban code of polite disinterest. Jay's research background became her greatest weapon. Where others might see random occurrences, she saw patterns. Where most would dismiss unusual readings, she meticulously collected and analyzed data. Her scientific training transformed a potential neighborhood mystery into a potentially groundbreaking investigation. The soil samples continued revealing secrets. Each microscopic examination unveiled more complex structures. These weren't just random metallic fragments. They seemed like deliberately constructed technological components. But constructed by whom? And for what purpose? As summer progressed, the mystery deepened. Jay realized she was no longer just investigating property damage. She was potentially uncovering something that could challenge fundamental understanding of technology, potentially even suggesting something beyond traditional human engineering. Her quiet determination burned bright. Whatever was happening in her suburban neighborhood, she would uncover the truth. One microscopic fragment at a time. Joe Park's apartment transformed into a makeshift legal war room. Walls covered with carefully organized documents, digital screens displaying complex research data, and stacks of meticulously labeled evidence folders created a scene of focused determination. Her legal strategy began with documentation. Each soil sample, electromagnetic reading, and photographic evidence was professionally cataloged. She understood that scientific precision would be her strongest weapon in any potential legal battle. Local legal firms initially dismissed her case. Property damage claims require clear, visible evidence, they would say. But Jay wasn't interested in typical approaches. Her background in environmental research taught her that invisible evidence could be more powerful than physical damage. She contacted specialized attorneys who worked with technical and scientific litigation. Most were skeptical, but one lawyer, Michael Chen, saw the potential complexity of her case. He recognized that her documented evidence went far beyond a simple property dispute. Jay's research revealed interesting details about David Kim's employment. Government contractor records showed multiple classified project associations. Each document seemed carefully sanitized, with critical information strategically removed. This itself became evidence of potential intentional concealment. Her computer became a research hub. Online databases, scientific journals, and government publication archives provided additional context. She cross-referenced David Kim's professional history with unusual technological developments, slowly building a comprehensive narrative. Electromagnetic interference reports from neighboring properties became crucial supporting evidence. What initially seemed like random technical glitches now appeared to be part of a broader pattern. Jay methodically collected these reports, creating a geographic map of unusual occurrences. Local government offices provided minimal cooperation. Each information request was met with bureaucratic resistance. Standard Freedom of Information requests returned heavily redacted documents that revealed more about the potential cover-up than the actual information. Michael Chen helped draft a comprehensive legal complaint. The document wasn't just about property damage. It suggested a systematic investigation into potential technological interference. Each paragraph was carefully constructed, balancing scientific observation with legal terminology. Jay's evidence collection went beyond traditional approaches. She installed advanced monitoring equipment around her property. Infrared cameras, electromagnetic field detectors, and quantum-level sensors provided continuous data collection. Every reading was time-stamped, every anomaly documented. Her professional reputation became a significant asset. As a respected environmental researcher with published papers and academic credentials, her testimony carried weight. Colleagues who initially seemed skeptical now showed increasing interest in her investigation. The legal preparation became a complex chess game. Each piece of evidence was strategically placed, each document carefully analyzed. Jay understood that her case wasn't just about proving property damage. It was about revealing a potentially extraordinary technological mystery. Government agencies began showing subtle signs of interest. Occasional unmarked vehicles would slowly drive past her property. Phone calls would occasionally have strange background interference. These small details only confirmed Jay's suspicion that her investigation was touching something significant. Financial records became another avenue of investigation. Unusual fund transfers, complex corporate structures connected to David Kim's employers revealed intricate connections. Each discovered detail added another layer to the growing legal narrative. Her laptop became a war machine of information gathering. Advanced data analysis software helped her connect seemingly unrelated pieces of information. Patterns emerged that suggested a coordinated effort to maintain secrecy around specific technological developments. Michael Chen was impressed by her methodical approach. "You're not just preparing a lawsuit," he told her. "You're building a comprehensive scientific and legal argument that challenges existing technological understanding." As weeks passed, Jay's legal preparation transformed from a neighborhood property dispute into a potential landmark investigation. She wasn't just seeking compensation. She was challenging a system of technological secrecy. The final legal document ran over 200 pages. Each page represented months of careful research, scientific observation, and strategic legal positioning. Jay knew that whatever happened next would be more than just a typical court case. Her determination burned bright, a quiet, methodical flame of scientific curiosity and legal precision. The courthouse hallway felt unusually tense when Jay arrived for the initial hearing. Government officials in dark suits moved with calculated precision, their presence suggesting something far more significant than a typical property dispute. Michael Chen arrived early, his briefcase filled with carefully prepared documents. "Something's different today," he whispered to Jia. The usual bureaucratic atmosphere felt charged with an unexplained electricity. As they entered the hearing room, 3 unexpected individuals sat at the back. They weren't typical government lawyers. Their posture suggested military background, their suits too perfect, their observation too precise. Jay recognized one from a classified research database she had accessed during her investigation. The initial hearing took an extraordinary turn. Instead of a standard property damage discussion, government representatives requested a private closed-door session. Michael Chen's professional demeanor remained calm, but Jay could see the slight tension in his jaw. During the closed session, strange protocols emerged. Advanced screening devices were brought in. Electronic devices were collected. Rooms were swept for potential communication interferences. What should have been a simple legal proceeding now felt like a high-stakes national security event. Classified documents began appearing. Redacted pages showed traces of technological research that seemed to connect directly with the soil samples from Jay's property. The geometric patterns she had discovered matched classified research diagrams that suggested something beyond traditional human technology. David Kim's background became the central focus. His employment history revealed connections to multiple government research programs dealing with advanced quantum engineering. Each revealed detail suggested he was more than a simple neighborhood resident. Surveillance footage from Jay's property started playing. The images showed brief, unexplainable energy signatures, quantum-level distortions that lasted milliseconds. Professional analysts in the room exchanged knowing glances, their expressions suggesting they understood something the general public would not comprehend. Military intelligence officers began asking Jay detailed questions, not about property damage, but about her research methodology, her observations, her scientific approach. They seemed more interested in her investigative process than the actual property dispute. Unexpected financial transfers were revealed. Money had been moving between multiple government research accounts, connected to David Kim's employment history. These transfers suggested a complex network of technological research that extended far beyond a simple neighborhood incident. The hearing room transformed. What started as a local property dispute now felt like a critical national security investigation. Government representatives treated Jay not as a complaining neighbor, but as a potential key witness in something much larger. Michael Chen navigated the complex legal landscape with professional precision. He understood that this was no longer a simple case. This was becoming a high-stakes governmental investigation that extended well beyond property lines. Classified communication intercepts began surfacing, brief digital transmissions that didn't match any standard communication protocols. The geometric patterns in these transmissions matched the soil samples from Jay's property, a connection too precise to be coincidental. Technology experts brought in by the government began examining Jay's collected evidence. Their initial skepticism transformed into genuine scientific interest. The soil samples, electromagnetic readings, and documented observations suggested something extraordinary was happening. David Kim remained silent throughout the proceedings. His presence suggested he knew more than he was revealing. Government representatives seemed to treat him with a mixture of respect and carefully managed containment. As the day progressed, the scope of the investigation expanded. What began as a neighborhood property dispute was rapidly transforming into a potential breakthrough in understanding technological development. Jay realized she had stumbled upon something far more significant than property damage. The hearing concluded with more questions than answers. Additional investigations were authorized. Jay would be required to provide continued cooperation. The government's interest was now officially confirmed. Walking out of the courthouse, Jay understood that her simple investigation had just changed everything. Something extraordinary was unfolding, and she was at the center of it. The government research facility looked like any other corporate building from the outside. bland, rectangular, with mirrored windows that revealed nothing. But inside, Jay understood she was about to witness something unprecedented. 3 days after the courthouse hearing, she found herself in a high-security conference room. Government scientists, military intelligence experts, and, unexpectedly, David Kim sat around a circular table. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. A holographic display activated, showing the microscopic soil samples from her property. But this wasn't just a typical scientific presentation. The geometric patterns began moving, revealing complex technological structures that seemed to pulse with an internal energy. These aren't just technological fragments, a senior scientist explained. They're communication nodes, designed to gather environmental data, but not from any human technology. David Kim finally spoke. His explanation was both shocking and measured. The soil samples were evidence of an initial reconnaissance mission, not by humans, but by an extraterrestrial research team studying planetary ecosystems. The geometric patterns were a sophisticated data collection method. Each microscopic fragment was designed to analyze environmental conditions, transmit information, and remain virtually undetectable. Jay's property had been selected as a primary observation point. Satellite data confirmed unusual quantum-level energy signatures matching the soil samples. Multiple global locations showed similar technological interference, but Jay's systematic documentation made her discovery the most comprehensive. Military intelligence revealed that similar fragments had been discovered in remote locations, agricultural zones, desert regions, coastal areas, each site carefully selected for comprehensive environmental monitoring. Jay's research had essentially cracked an invisible global network. The extraterrestrial research team wasn't preparing an invasion. They were conducting a sophisticated ecological survey, gathering data about planetary conditions. Their technology was so advanced that traditional human detection methods had failed until now. David Kim's role became clear. He was a liaison, partially aware of the broader research parameters, but not fully integrated into the extraterrestrial communication network. His job was to manage potential human interactions and prevent widespread panic. Jay's legal approach had forced an unprecedented diplomatic interaction. By methodically documenting and challenging the technological interference, she had essentially initiated first contact protocols without realizing it. Government representatives explained that her lawsuit would be sealed. National security considerations meant her groundbreaking discovery would remain classified. But she would be offered a unique research position, continuing her investigation under controlled conditions. The holographic display continued showing the complex technological structures. Each fragment contained quantum-level communication systems more advanced than anything humans had developed. They were living technologies, capable of adaptive research and self-modification. Surprisingly, the extraterrestrial research team showed a form of technological respect for Jay's investigative methods. Her scientific precision and legal determination had impressed their monitoring systems. They had been studying human problem-solving capabilities, and she had exceeded their expectations. Michael Chen, her lawyer, was also invited to participate in future research discussions. His legal strategy had been crucial in forcing this unprecedented revelation. The diplomatic implications were enormous, though they would remain hidden from public knowledge. As the meeting concluded, Jay realized her simple property dispute had transformed into something far more significant. She hadn't just discovered technological interference. She had initiated humanity's most structured first contact scenario. The research facility's corridors seemed different now. Every surface, every hallway, carried the weight of this extraordinary revelation. Joe walked with a mixture of scientific excitement and profound understanding that everything had changed. Her neighborhood would look the same. Her property would appear untouched. But beneath the surface, a complex technological network now acknowledged humanity's potential in ways no one could have predicted. The cosmic resolution wasn't about conflict. It was about understanding, communication, and the unexpected paths scientific curiosity could reveal. As she left the facility, Jay Park knew her life would never be the same. A simple property dispute had become a gateway to understanding our place in a much larger, more complex universe.